Welcome back, episode 6. So, we just had another game weekend. We went and played Denver in Denver, Colorado. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So let's first start off with we went to Denver not even knowing if we were gonna have a game.
Yes.
So that was a little bit like, so they had for some reason lost the field. I'm assuming it was probably something like a double booking with graduation. Like, it's hard for everybody to find stadiums right now because of the graduations. But we basically went all the way to Denver and we did not know if we were gonna have a game. And then they figured out the field and they let us know, and we just had to move our game from 6 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So we started at 8 p.m., which was a little bit later, but it wasn't too bad. But then the weather was like also like we weren't sure. Like, as we're driving to the field, we're just driving into a storm. Like, it looked like midnight dark, and I was like, oh god, like now we're here, we're gonna get to play. But if it starts lightning and
there
stuff,
was a
yeah,
it was really cool. I've never been to Denver,
yeah.
So I thought it was really cool because driving to this field, we're literally in the
oh
mountains.
yeah, the mountains look so cool.
And that also made, I think, like the clouds and everything be so much closer.
Yeah.
And I think driving up, we saw like a lightning.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, they're gonna have to be like, we gotta wait another hour.
Yeah.
But it ended up being alright.
Yeah. So it was raining a little bit when we were warming up, but it actually didn't even end up raining during the game. It was just kind of cold, but it was nice. Like, it wasn't honestly too bad, and yeah, it didn't start storming. So, we did end up winning 10-0.
Hey.
That score was actually a pick 9 and an extra point. So defense did actually really good. I'm so proud of our defense because Denver actually got in our red zone several times, and there was 2 back-to-back drives where they were literally in our 10-yard line, and we stopped them. We gave the ball to offense. We came back. We again started from the 10-yard line, and we again stopped them. And then there were still like other times too when we were in the red zone and we stopped their offense, like when it really mattered. So our defense was definitely like our strength this game.
Defense was our MVP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whole defense, honestly.
Our offense was definitely struggling, especially in the first half. But I feel like a lot of it also was just because we kept getting penalties.
Yeah.
Like, we would move the ball, but then we'd get like a penalty. We got moved back, and then we had way too many turnovers. And I think that's been a common thing during all our games. We have too many turnovers. We fumble, we throw picks, giving back the ball. That's what happened that drive. We were down there, we got our offense, and we threw a pick the first play. Second half was better.
Third quarter was
good. Even though we didn't really obviously score, we still had possession of the ball for almost the entire third quarter.
I think defense was only on the field for one drive in the whole quarter, and obviously like it was a quick quarter as well because we were running a lot, both teams, so it did go quick.
Right.
But it was like, as a defensive player, like that's something we've kind of struggled so far, to where our offense has had a lot of 3 and outs, except for like Florida. So for defense, it's really rough when you keep having to go on the field and then stopping them in the red zone type shit, and then it's like 3 and outs.
Yeah.
But this, like, I'm literally standing on the sideline, like, I've never had time to like be talking shit with my teammates on the side. Like, I'm literally just talking about random ass shit. Like, not that we were locked in the game, but I was like, I've never had this kind of time. Like, that was like, okay, we're like, hold on, the quarter is actually over, because offense literally just kept moving the ball, and even though y'all didn't score, it helped, and it helped us to get the rest so that we can keep stopping them in the red zone.
Right, and also us having the ball in offense kept their offense from being on the field trying to score.
Yeah.
So it was good, and we had good clock management in the second half. We wanted the clock to like run out. So we did good in that regard. I just wish we could have actually scored at least one touchdown, but Denver's defense did a good job.
They were good.
They did.
Honestly, we were both nervous going into Denver because everybody's told us how the altitude is different and it's harder to breathe over there. So we were like honestly a little nervous because I was like, am I gonna feel like a fat kid, like just
especially going
choking
up in the mountains?
Exactly, yeah. But honestly, I didn't feel a difference. I actually did not get winded for real, like, and I think part of it was like it was easier because it was so cold, so it wasn't hot like some of our other games, but I don't think the air made a difference for me.
I don't think so either, and I don't think that made a difference for our team in general at all. And I'm gonna be honest, because playing here and playing in Houston and wherever we played, it's usually so humid.
Yeah.
And that is horrible. Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
Going to Denver, like, yeah, it might be, like, a different air, but it was so, like...
No, it was fresh.
It's so fresh.
It was, like, yeah, because it wasn't humid. Even though it's raining, it wasn't humid.
Right.
And it wasn't, like, hot at all. It was, like...
So
it was,
I liked
honestly,
it.
perfect weather. Like, by the time the game started, it was, like, perfect weather. For at least, like, if you're playing a lot. Now, if you're on the sideline a lot, or for the coaches, it might be a little colder or whatever. But, like, as a player, like, especially... I mean, we were wearing long sleeves and everything. But I was, like, perfectly fine the whole game. Like... in those regards anyway.
Yeah,
talking about injuries, we're not gonna go there.
So that was our game, and then there were some other games going on this week, and one of them was Houston versus Texas. Houston is the only team, again, this year, that has to play Texas twice. So it was a home game for Houston, and they lost by 34-8. You did watch that game. I haven't watched it, and Houston ended up having one player getting injured pretty seriously. She had to be taken off the field. So they actually ended up taking a knee. It was when it was like 6 minutes left of the game.
I think it was like 5 minutes left. So yeah, it took a minute to like get her carted off the field. So everybody like had like gathered around her, which I love. And they were also kind of protecting her from the camera, I think, which I like, because sometimes like production companies, like they be zooming into injuries, and it's like not everybody likes to be filmed when they're getting injured and whatever.
Anybody.
Right. So I really like that. And then afterwards they came back on the field, but Houston ended up taking a knee, and they just like finished the game there. But from what I heard, I was told that she is alright, but her injuries are, I guess, pretty severe. But I'm not gonna talk more into that because I don't know how much she wants to be put out there, but I was told that she is alright, so we wish her the best and speedy recovery. That's always like really tough to see, because
it don't matter
happen to anybody.
Who it is on an opponent. You never want to see people getting hurt or injured.
So we hope that she's okay. But yeah, so that ended up ending 34-8 because they ended up finishing it early. Then Atlanta and Mississippi played each other, and Mississippi beat Atlanta 18-0, which honestly, to me, that wasn't really surprising. Like, I kind of figured that the score would be something like that.
I figured so too, just because based off of like previous results in Atlanta, I mean, they're ranked number 4. I might not agree with that's where they should be, just based off the different conferences. We watched a little bit. I watched a little bit of that, the first half. And honestly, just watching Mississippi, they played so much, at least in the first half, and they didn't score that much in the first half. So I don't know if they changed that in the second, but they they have a great quarterback. Melis, she's got a really good arm, and they got really good receivers. But they kept trying to throw these long passes, like fades and seams. Yeah. And they just couldn't get it. And I feel like that's what they got on us, is when they did the shorter hitches, all that kind of stuff. That's when they got yards and they kept moving the ball. So I don't know if they maybe changed it in the second half, or if they started running it more, because it did get a lot of yards running. But trying these long passes, like, yeah, you do have a good arm and you do have good receivers, but that's not where you as a team, I feel like, could get the most out of it. Yeah. Because they can get people with those short, quick passes.
Yeah, especially because their receivers, like, they can get after catch yards.
Exactly.
Like, they're shifty receivers, like, after the catch, they can actually get yards. So, like, yeah, I didn't watch that game, but, yeah. And then another one was Seattle versus LA, and Seattle won 21-18, which is pretty tight. I don't really have much to say about it. We didn't watch the game.
No.
I wouldn't say I'm surprised about the score. I think they are pretty
and
even-ish.
LA has played Denver, and that was a pretty close game too.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a pretty...
According to rankings, I feel like it's a pretty accurate
result. I still want to give a shout out to Seattle, because compared to them last season, I mean, you barely heard anything about them. I don't think they had like 1-5 or something. And now they're actually they are a playoff team possibly. So shout out to them for that. It's a good moves they've been doing.
Good for Seattle.
Right.
But yeah, the rest of the games were pretty much blowouts, so it wasn't anything too interesting.
So it's getting, like, obviously now it's just one more week left of the regular season, so now the rankings are really starting to get interesting.
So we were ranked 7 going into Denver.
Yeah.
And Denver was ranked 5, and we beat Denver. So I think we should be ranked 5 this week. I know you...
No, I agree with that, and I think that's, like, what we are going to end up being. I'm just, like, because I keep thinking about, different results. And because we have, before going in this week, Atlanta was 4, Denver 5, Washington 6, and then us 7. And if you think about it now, just comparing, like, Mississippi beat Atlanta 18-0. They only beat us 30-25. Yeah. So I'm like, should we be number 4 and then Atlanta be 5? Yeah. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they are gonna put us at number 5. Yeah. So I think these last 2 rankings are gonna be very interesting. And you also have Seattle at number, I think they're at number 8. Yeah. Yeah. And then Utah was 9, but now Utah lost again. So all these like spots are gonna be interesting.
And I feel like it is gonna be interesting because also last year wasn't Vegas, didn't they have a better record than Denver going into playoffs, and they still ended up making it? So it's also like not even just like, okay, winning record. And like we know that it's never been about just the winning record because it is strength of schedule and all of that. But like it can still be like changes that you're not necessarily expecting. So it'll be interesting. Sure. But anyway, so we're playing Houston this week. Houston is coming here to our house, and for those that don't know, we played for Houston last season, so this is personal. It is. This is personal in the best way possible. Like, it's not no revenge type. No. Like, we're on good terms with everybody in Houston. Like, that's our people. We love them. But for this week, until that last whistle blows, that's the enemy. I know. And this is personal. Y'all are coming to our house trying to beat us when we had to leave. Like,
and that's personal. Thing. Because you always, every season, you want to make moves that's going to be better for your football career. Yeah. So, even though, like, it was all good leaving there, like, it was no bad blood or anything, you still want to kind of be like, okay, we did the right decision. Yeah. Leaving and signing for another team. So,
exactly. And, like, our decision was not fully based on, like, just football stuff. Like, it was so much more to it. But it's, like, at the end of the day, like, we had to do what we had to do to keep our to be able to play and like the best decision for our career, and it ended up being Kansas City. So now it's time to make a statement. Like,
and it's interesting because last season when we played in Houston, we beat Kansas City. And
now hopefully we're in Kansas City beating Houston.
But and then it's also different because every game we go into, we obviously scout the players, but here, even though they have a lot of new players, you still have players that like. I went against these D-line players or linebackers every week for 6 months, multiple times. You know them in a different way. So just all of that's going to be very interesting.
It's an advantage when you have seen them like that. Like, not only did I go against Houston's skill players at practice, but also I work with their DBs and their linebackers. Like, I also kind of know about their defense. So it's definitely an advantage kind of knowing them on a personal level. But at the end of the day, I feel like they are a very different team, and a lot of players have changed. Like, especially like their D-line and linebackers, like it's very different. So we don't know too much. And also, I think there's been a change in their play calling on offense, or like the OC or something in the coaching staff. I think there was a change. So when I was watching the Houston game, from what we watched Houston games earlier, it looked very different. I think they ran more like a spread offense, and when they've had 2 backs, it's like 2 true backs. Like, it's been like D. Scott and then the rookie running back, who are both like true running backs. And now it looked like they had more of an actual fullback, and they was running a lot of 2-back stuff with the fullback. So I think it's going to be a different kind of offense than what we've seen so far. But we do have film on that too, though. So I think we'll be able to prepare for it well. But I'm so excited for this game. Like, it's just so... Like, I think this is what we've been waiting for the most. Because, 1, it's personal. But 2, like, we are 2 very kind of evenly teams. So it should be a good game as well.
And we've never had this before. We've never played a whole team that we played for played for before, because we've been switching leagues. Yeah.
So every time we switch teams, we switch leagues. So the only time we played against like old teammates is in the national teams, because we both played for each other's country. So whenever we meet, I play against my old Swedish teammates and she plays against her old Finnish teammates, but we never played against the team that we used to play for.
And also knowing like the coaches. Like, we know Soho. We know what kind of defense she
right.
So all of this is gonna be very interesting. But then at the end of the day, it's a game like no other. Like we're gonna prepare it the same way, and all of that. So, but I'm excited. Just also meeting everybody. We haven't seen them since we left last season. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I think the thing is also like obviously they also have that advantage of knowing us.
Yes.
And also, they know that we know them. So we're not going to go into the game dumb thinking, oh, we're just going to run it like how when they were here. Like, obviously, they know that we know that. So they might really switch it up. I can see Soho going both ways. I can really see Soho being like, I don't care that they know our playbook, because Soho is very much the coach who's like, I don't care if you know my playbook. Yeah. We'll do it better than you. So I don't think she's going to make any big differences in the defense, but she could just to fuck with us.
Right.
So, that'll be interesting to see as well. So, talk about switching teams and everything. We thought we'd talk a little bit more about, like, how you sign with different teams, how free agency works, how the off-season process works. And I think we should probably start off with what's the difference between WNFC and the free agency elsewhere and, like, in Europe and other leagues. So, in WNFC now, starting this past off-season, you have to clear yourself for free agency before you're allowed to start talking to other teams. So I can't be with Kansas City and start talking to Houston again without letting the whole league know that I want to clear it for free agency.
Right, or you have to have a conversation with your team owners saying, hey, like, even though I might still sign back here, I still want the ability to be a free agency and explore my options. And then after that, you have to fill out a form to let the league know, and then the league will let all the teams know. So basically, all the owners of all the teams will get, like, notified, like, hey, these players are free to recruit this season. That doesn't happen in any other league.
No, that's only in the WNFC, and it was only literally this past offseason that it changed.
And I think that's honestly a good thing.
I like that.
Yeah, and it makes it more professional, and it also limits the whole, like, oh, that player went and talked there, and then they did this. Like, it's very
the unnecessary drama.
Exactly. It's super clear. And it makes it feel more professional.
Yeah. And so we obviously went through that process before we even parted ways with Houston. We had told Houston that if we get to the point where it's coming late to the offseason, that we might have to clear for free agency, even once we're still trying to figure things out with Houston. And that ended up happening. So we had to clear for free agency, but we were still kind of looking to go back to Houston. So we filled out the forms, and the form actually asks you if you want to reach out to teams or if you want teams to reach out to you. Which one did we choose?
We chose teams reach out to us.
Oh, yeah, we said that they can reach out to us.
But the thing with it, I mean, we're not going to go into that today, but just, like, I would say if you do clear for free agency, I would do it earlier than we did, because we did it very late.
We did like end of November.
Which also, because teams, when they find out a player's a free agent, they might need time to, talk to each other. Is this somebody we want to, like, contact? Is this somebody we'd want? And we didn't have that time.
Yeah, and especially in our case when we're internationals, and there's so much more to do. Like, they can't just be like, okay, come here.
Right.
It's actually, and we'll talk more about, like, the deals that we've made and how we actually ended up in each team and what the deal there was. But generally, like, the teams that we play for, they provide a lot of stuff for us. So they have to have the time to figure out. So if you're a national player and you're hoping that they would provide housing and all this other stuff for you, you have to be a little bit earlier. We did it very last minute, and it was actually very stressful because we weren't sure if teams were going to have time to figure it out. But it was because we were so set to going back to Houston.
Yeah. But then the difference, if you compare WFA, I do think there are teams that reach out to a lot of players. They don't, from what we know when we play there, they don't have this free agency thing. So also there, and then if you look at Europe, mostly it is players reaching out to teams to be like, hey, I want to go play abroad, or and I've seen your team. And I think in Europe, from what we know, there is about 2 or 3 teams that actually recruit, and they are the ones reaching out. I know Costa Crusaders do it. We know Unicorns in Germany. And then some Finnish teams do it a little bit, not like fully. But so in Europe, it is way more where players have to themselves reach out to teams.
And it's also mostly because in Europe, I don't think they provide as much. Like, there are teams like Karlstad who do provide, like, they provided me with housing and a
Yeah.
little bit of money. But a lot of teams, like, they can, like, they'll help you find a job to be able to provide for yourself while you're there. But that, I think that's a big reason why they're not doing the most to recruit, because they can't offer too much. But the teams that can help, like, they might reach out. But I'd say, like, because I actually get a lot of questions from women, especially in Europe, like, how do you become an import? How do you go abroad to play? Like, how does it go on about, and how do you get to the States and everything? So, what I've told most of the Europeans that have reached out to me is like, you might want to start in Europe. Like, you might want to first go to Germany. If you're from Finland, for example, you might want to first go to Germany because, one, if they can't provide anything for you, you can still work there because the visa stuff. You can still work there, so you can find a job in Germany, get some more film, because if you've only played in one country and you necessarily don't have the highest level film, like, okay, if you played in Finland, you can actually have great film because it's a high level. But if you come from like Spain or something where you play 7-man football, like, you might have to go somewhere first to get film of you playing 11-man football, even if you are the greatest athlete. But for an American team to take a chance on somebody they haven't really seen play 11-man football, and for them to actually try to figure out how to provide you with housing and all this other stuff that's already hard to figure out. So you might need to get more film from somewhere else first. Plus, you get to work and everything with visa.
Right, exactly. I think that's something, going to the States as an international, it takes a lot of preparation. Mm-hmm. When we've gone, like, we spent the entire fall, like 6 months, just preparing. One, when it comes to working, making money so that we can be here for 6 months. Then also figuring out what kind of visas, applying for visas. And then also, people see a lot of it, like, you're here, oh, we're living our best life. We definitely are, but it's also, like, it's rough because you're so far away from everything, things might not end up being the way you thought they would be. A lot of time you can feel a bit stranded. And I think being in Europe, it's easier, like, you might have a job, so you meet people, you get kind of that part of it too. You're closer to home. People can come visit, you can go home for a weekend if you want to. I think it's a good first step in all of those regards.
And even just, like, the cultural change, even though, like, obviously between Finland and Spain, the culture is very different, but it's still, like, you're still in Europe. Still, like, stuff still kind of works similar than if you just straight come to the States. Right.
Even with, like, us, we've had different, we're playing a sport where you get injured. Just insurances. Getting medical help when you're in the States compared to if you're in Spain or in Germany or whatever. Or you can go home and, just get an x-ray or whatever. It's a lot. So being in Europe for the first time you go abroad and play, I think that's a great first step.
Yeah, definitely.
But then also, we've got questions about, like, how we see, like, women's football have changed over the years. And this is also something that's changed a lot. Because I know when I went to Finland to play in 2017, which is now, 7 years ago? This whole going abroad, playing as an import, it wasn't a big thing. No. I knew, I think, one or two players that had done it in Sweden, but they had done it more so because they actually moved to that country and then they played for that team.
Right, because when I came to Sweden in 2019, I was the first import in the Swedish league.
Right, exactly. So a lot of players had played abroad because they moved there. They moved their whole life, not just because of football. And it was very different, and teams... I mean, when I moved to Finland, I loved it. I had the best year of my life and was so great taken care of. But teams didn't really know. Teams they didn't know what it meant to have an import, having somebody come. And that's what we realized when, even now, sometimes when you go to a team that's never had a player coming from abroad, they don't really understand everything that it requires from them.
Especially when it comes to coming from Europe to the States, because one, in Europe, it's always... like, or often a women's team is associated with the men's team. So even if the women's team hasn't ever had an international player, the men's team has had imports. So they might be able to help figure that out, or at least kind of guide them, like, what do these kind of players need and what goes into it. But also, there's not, like, paperwork that needs to be done like that. like when you come to the States, like these teams, like these are all women's teams, like they've never, like some of these teams have never had international players, and then it's a lot of paperwork that goes into it. We have to get paperwork from the team to take to our visa interviews and everything, and it's like a lot of the teams that we spoke to, like they don't know what they would need. So it's like we need to actually tell them what exactly we need on this paper, and it does make a difference. Like you can notice like when some teams have had international players that they kind of know how it works and it's a little bit smoother, but it's a lot that goes into it that people don't even understand. And I think that's important to understand also. If you are European and you're looking to play in the States, like that's not something that you just talk to a team. Like you need to figure out the whole, whether you need to apply for a visa. You don't necessarily have to. We have come to the state and played with the ESTA, which allows you to stay for 90 days, but you don't have to do the whole interview process and everything. But then we had to fly home mid-season, and that's rough because that's like almost a 24-hour travel mid-season just to leave the country and come back in.
And not only that, but that's a financial thing too. Yeah. Because flights are expensive. It's a whole thing that you got to figure out. And then also when it comes to, you talked about a little bit what teams can kind of offer. A lot of teams, they can't always offer everything. So you got to kind of figure out too, like, where do I want to start? Do I want to, like, am I okay with going somewhere abroad and working and paying a lot for myself? Yes, I would say yes, because like you said, that gives you the opportunity to get more film, and also it shows that you are willing to like sacrifice all these things, which is going to make you more attractive to other teams as well.
Yeah. But then also like, yeah, you need to look into all the insurance stuff. Is your team providing you with insurance? Do you need to provide it yourself? Is whatever the team insurance or like the team might be offering you for insurance, does that actually cover you being an international player? Like, it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So like definitely if you are considering it, it's not impossible, obviously. Like we've done this is our 3rd year, but just understand that it's a lot that goes into it. So like you said, like we look like we're out here living our best life. And like you said, we are. But y'all don't get to see what happens in the fall for us to be able to come here in the spring and live our best life. So yeah, now we're living our best life. But boy, was we stressed in the fall when we were trying to figure this out, crying all night, talking to each other on FaceTime. Like, can this be over already?
I mean, there were times, and we were going to go more into it, but there were calls we had with each other where we were like, shoot, like, just fuck
is it even worth it?
I don't know. And even though, we do most of the hard work in the fall, but there are things that go on during the season as well, where we're also like, this ain't it, like what the hell. So there are things, but what I would also say, because I think us going abroad, we've been some of the, like, there's been other places, but we are some of the first women going to the States and whatever. If you are interested in going abroad, even Europe, reach out to people who have done it, because we've done that too. We've reached out to other players that we know been in the States, and we're like, hey, how did y'all do this? Just to kind of get, okay, that's how they did it. Would that work for us? But I would, options. But I would definitely say, like, if you're interested in going abroad in Europe or the States, talk to people who have done it, because I think we're all there to help each other with this, because we all want our sport to grow and more people to get to play on the highest level. So definitely reach out to people who have done it to get advice, because they'll tell you, hey, this is what we did, blah 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 blah. If you want to do this, I would recommend you do this. And also we've done learn from our mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we're here to share kind of our mistakes and everything. So first of all, our lines are always open, and I love when people, like, when women hit me up, and I even actually have like male coaches that coach women hitting me up saying, oh, I have a couple women who are maybe interested, and they actually reach out to me so that they can help their players. And I love that, because like not only are women now trying to like go international, but to be able to like help, because we've done that, like it kind of makes us feel like this is not just for us. Like, we didn't go through all this shit just to be here, but we also did that to be able to help other people do that. Because I've had a lot of women who've come to me and they've asked, like, how do you do it? How, like, do I reach out to them? Do I need to sign up for something like Euro Players type stuff where they reach out to me? Do you work? Do you get money from the team? They provide housing? Like, stuff like that. And it's always like, it always depends, because it depends on the team and where you're trying to go, if they're going to be able to like help you out with stuff. But like, just to be able to like, okay, hey, reach out to this team. And then sometimes I have players asking me, which teams should I reach out to? And like, especially like when it comes to Europe, like we've played for a couple teams in Europe, but we also know about a couple other teams that have like good reputation. So like, I'll tell you, hey, reach out to Crossfire Crusaders. I've been there, you've been there. I know they treated me well. They figured all of my stuff out. So I know they'll figure all of your stuff out too. And we know that even after I left, they started bringing in more imports. Like Crossfire Crusader is actually a trailblazer when it comes to like making women like imports.
Yeah.
But definitely like just reach out, ask all those questions. And if you're like thinking of a specific teams, like let's say somebody's thinking like, oh, should I go to Kansas City? Reach out to us because we can tell you how our situation has been in Kansas City, which honestly has been really good for us. Like we're really happy here. But like as somebody who's been in that specific team who can tell you, is it what it looked like? Because a lot of the time it might look like it was great and it wasn't.
Yeah, and then also don't just reach out to players who live in that city and play there, because that's a whole different experience. You got to reach out to players who were import players in that team. We've done that because we don't want to just go somewhere without knowing anything.
Yeah.
So if you are, like you say, I think you kind of took what I was thinking. But reach out to the import players.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's a different experience compared to being in a team where you live and you're having your whole life outside of football.
And I would say like if you're a first year import, like prefer teams that have had imports before, because one, they already know how to help you, but also because you can reach out to other players. Because now if you go to a team that has never had that before, one, you nor the team really know what needs to be done in order for this to work, but also you can't reach out. So like for us, like we prefer teams that have had internationals, but we'll go to a team like Houston was the first year team ever. So obviously they had no experience, but we took that chance because we already knew what it takes from our end. So we knew that we know what we need to be doing and we can tell Houston how they need to help us. But if you're a first year import and you haven't done all of that before, I would say prefer teams that already kind of know that. And when you're having meetings, that's also one important thing. Have meetings with the teams. Don't just DM them and just like be texting. You need to meet these people over Zoom. Talk to them. Ask them if they've had players before. Ask them what did they provide for them. What are they, maybe what do they want to be able to provide to you? How is that looking? How does like actually get to meet these people? Because you don't want to go into a situation you have no idea what's going to happen. We've done that also and we got pretty lucky. But like when we went to Spain, we basically had no idea what we was actually stepping into.
We did a little bit. But then also, I want to say when you do talk to the team, don't make them feel like you're asking for too much.
No.
Because that's something we've also had happen is because we do have like a list. When now we do.
Yeah.
In the beginning we didn't really. Yeah. But we had like, this is what we need. Da, 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 da.
And every year we might add something because we're still learning what more we need.
But that's what we do. We have like, these are... we kind of have like, these are a must.
Non-negotiables and then negotiables. Right.
So in a lot of teams that we have meeting with, they hear these things and they're like, no, like y'all, like that's not happening. And we're like, okay, then we're not interested.
Yeah.
Because we need to make sure that we're good.
Yeah.
So when you do have these meetings, if you are asking for things, don't lower your standards too much just because you really, because there are teams that are going to do that for you. So don't make them feel like you're asking for too much, because you're not. Because at the end of the day, you're going to a completely new place. You're uprooting your whole life. You have to be okay for the time that you're there.
Yeah. The thing is, like, also, if you're a first year import, you can't be asking for much because you don't have the film and all that. Like, for a team to take a chance on somebody that they don't have too much film on, like, you can't be asking too much. So the more years you play internationally, the more you can start asking. And also for us, because now we know what these other teams offer. Like, even this past offseason, we had meetings with several other teams. So we know what these other teams can offer. So we're not going to lower our standard. Like, I'm not going to go there and pay for this when this team is paying that for me type thing. But also, you know what you need in order to survive.
Right.
Like, that's like, you do have those non-negotiables. And if the team is not able to give you that, then either you figure it out or you just say no, okay, and then you try to figure it out for next season. You might, and like I said earlier, like you might have to make more sacrifices your first year, or you might have to work an extra year. Like even if you want to go abroad like next season, you might have to play in your home country for another year just to save up money, because you might have to pay for housing, you might have to pay a little rent or something, because you don't have that film and that kind of like trust and everything. But eventually, like, yeah, you're gonna have the non-negotiables, and it's a lot of teams who've also told us like, oh, that's not how it works in women's football. Women's football doesn't have the money for that. We know other teams do. Like, we know, and it's not necessarily about money, because a lot of teams say, oh, we don't have the money for that. You just need connections. For a lot of stuff, you need connections. You don't have to buy a house. Somebody might have space in their house, or you might be able to make a deal with the Airbnb. And I think that's also important for teams to hear. You don't necessarily have to have the money to bring in people, but you have to be willing to work towards getting the sponsorships. And that also says a lot about a team. Are you willing to do the work to find these sponsors, to be able to bring in international players? Because at the end of the day, if you want to develop women's football as a team and as a team owner and as a GM, you need to start developing that side, bringing in international. So you have to also do the work to be able to do that. It's not just, oh, we don't have the money, that's and it.
Also listen to the players that have done it. Like, okay, because that's what you said. A lot of teams be like, oh, that's not how we do it here, because that's not how women football work. But you gotta, as an owner, if you hear players saying, okay, but we're coming from a team that did this and this, so it is possible.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to start thinking, oh, okay, so it is possible. And I think just like we're saying, like reaching out to different players and, getting help, I think team owners and GMs need to start reaching out to other teams. So y'all had imports last year. How did you do it?
Yeah.
How help each other?
Exactly.
Because I think growing women's football in the States, there are a great amount of athletes and great football players abroad. So being able to bring them here is going to grow the sport here.
Yeah, and even just out of state players. Like there are a lot of players who either for some reason they don't want to play for the team in their state, or they don't have a team in their state. So even like out of state players, they might need help, like even though they can work and everything. So it's a little bit different, but like you want to be able to, like, that's where we're trying to get as women football. Like, we are trying to get there where we can help players, and we can, players can start going internationally and find the right fit for them. Because a lot of the times also for a player, like, you might have a team in your city, but it's not the right fit for whatever reasons, whether it's on-field stuff, off-field stuff, whatever else. Like, you need to do what you need to do. But definitely, and I think in the WNFC, the owners do have, like, I think they have some type of retreat where the owners gather up and they do a bunch of stuff and they talk to each other. So I think they do talk about stuff like that. But I would say, like, even if you're owner of, like, a European team or a head coach of a European team or whatever, like, you might want to reach out to these teams like CrossFit Crusaders or Unicorns. Like, how do you guys go on about the process? Because at the end of the day also, like, we need to work together. So even if you are competitors, like, that's not something, like, it's not a way from me to help somebody else go abroad. And if I was a head coach or owner of a team, it's not a way for me to help my opponent get better players. Like, okay, yeah, of course it's going to worry me, like, damn, how many imports are they going to get? Are they going to beat me? But at the end of the day, even if they beat me, that's better for women's football. So we just gotta also keep that in mind. Like, it's not all competition. At the end of the day, we're all in the same boat. So we want to be able to help each other just for the game.
Like, a sum up, like, if you are a player, you want to go, figure out what you need, what you can do by yourself, what would be the first step, reach out to people who have done it, get advice, get, help. And the same thing goes for team owners and head coaches. Listen to the players and then talk to other teams who have done the same thing.
And honestly, like, if you are a player, like, also ask yourself, are you ready to make those sacrifices? Because like we said, it's not easy. Like, it is not easy. Especially, like, it's also one thing to go abroad for 1 year. But to do it continuously like we do, like, we go through this shit, like, every fall. Like, it gets really stressful. Our life is very unstable in that way. Like, are you ready to make those sacrifices of, like, working harder in the fall to save up money? Are you willing to spend less money while you're there because you're having a pay cut? Are you willing to be away from your family or your partner? Are you willing to go through all of this?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be honest with yourself. That's not just something, oh, fly me out and I'll come there and I'll just pull up to practice and live my best life. That's not how it works. But that's like the generalization of like how free agency works and everything. And we'll get more into like our specific, like how we ended up in Spain, how we ended up in Kansas City, kind of what our deals look like.
Yeah.
But we'll get,
because all of those different like recruitments have looked very different.
Yeah.
So we wanted to also like share that just so you can see that it can go in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
It's not one right answer to how to go about it.
But definitely, like, if you have more questions, like, both of our lines are always open. Like, we love to just be able to help. Like, it actually makes my day when somebody asks me that, because I'm like, it just reminds me of like, we're really getting there. Like, we're actually getting there.
And we want to, a lot of the things we do, like you said, I mean, there's a lot of things that's not going to happen in our lifetime of football, but we want to be here and do this work so eventually we can see the things that we wished we could have had.
Exactly. Yeah. So hit us up. Anyways, I got a little thread. This is just kind of tweets of the week type thing, like just random stuff. So let me just go. I don't know, but when somebody says, I don't care what nobody says, I'll fuck with you, I really be confused, because who the fuck says something? Because literally, so you're telling me somebody told you I'm a bitch, and now you're realizing I'm not? Who said I'm a bitch?
But also because, one, I don't give a fuck if you fuck with me or not, really. Like, that's up to you.
But who the fuck said
But who said you wouldn't? Because I'm kind of
Tell
like,
me.
What?
Right. Like, who?
I don't care what nobody says, but I fuck.
Right. It's just,
what?
That's one of those, like, same as, if you use the word actually in a compliment, it's not a compliment.
Right.
So what you mean, like, oh, I fuck with you even though nobody else does? What you mean?
Nah, that's not cool. Because now you don't have to tell me.
Yeah. Who said something?
Who said what?
Yeah. What they say? Because it might be true.
I was going to say,
but I just want to know. This is a man thing. So, like, put your man mindset.
Okay. I'm going to hate this.
You crashing out about your girl makes me want her more. I know it's good now. That's such a man thing, because you know if you go through all this drama and you still want, that's so good. If you go through all of this extra shit.
But I feel like, okay, wait. I feel like this is a man's thing, because I don't feel.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Because like, let's say you're dating somebody and I see you go through all this shit with him. It's gonna make me want him less.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm like,
a girl would just be like,
ew, why would I go through all that?
You would still think like, damn, it must be good. But I'm just like, I can't even.
Right.
I can't even bother.
This
but
is
a man.
So reverse.
But a man, nah. They'll be like, damn. But the thing is, because our mindset is more so like, okay, well, obviously, I don't want to date this person. Yeah. But this man is only thinking about what happens in the bedroom.
I know, but
they're like, because at the end of the day, they're like, I'm not even going to deal with all that. I'm just hit it and go.
I think that's the difference. I'll be like, ain't nothing gonna be worth that shit.
No.
At all. I don't give a fuck.
This is not even like a joke. This is more like a conversation. I don't care. Ain't nothing TMI with my friends. I want to see the sex tape. See, this is because I know there's people like that who are like literally, and we share a lot. Like, we share a lot. But you ain't gonna see no fucking tape.
Nah.
And you ain't gonna hear the details either. You'll hear a little review, maybe best parts type shit, but you ain't gonna hear the detail. I'm not gonna walk you through it. Sex tape is also people who are comfortable having like threesomes with their friends. Me, like, I don't want to see you like that. You're my best friend. I cannot see you like that. I'll sit outside the room waiting for you to take you home. Shit, do your thing. If I gotta hear some, I'll put my headphones on. Type shit. But like,
nah,
I can't see you like that and then be like, oh hey bestie, let's film another episode. Like,
but I also don't
like, imagine we did that shit last night and now we're sitting here like.
But for me, it's also because at the end of the day, like, my best friends, like, I don't look at you that way.
Right.
So why would I want to do that?
No.
It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it would like.
Because for me to be like, I can be like, oh yeah, my best friends, they cute as fuck. Like, they look good.
Right.
But I'm not into it. like that. Yeah. So then why would I want to be in that situation?
And at the end of the day, like, especially like when you're like best friends, like we're basically sisters.
Yeah, it's
so that's the same as if I have a guy friend who's like literally like a brother to me. I cannot see you like, no, like that shit would just, I could literally, if I ever saw you, like if I saw your sex tape and you're like a brother to me, I cannot see you again. Disgusting. I literally cannot see you again. No, that's gross. So that's the same. I'm just like, because I know, obviously we would still be best friends, but I would just be like, ugh, I don't know. It was just, but yeah, I know it's a lot of people that are like this. That's why.
But that makes me think though that there's more to it. If you can do all that, there's something there.
Or then they're just not as close friends. Because if I did that shit with a friend, it would have to be somebody I'm not close to.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. This was kind of relatable for me.
Oh, okay.
Damn, she really blocked me from her business page too. That's unprofessional as fuck. Because I sure as hell blocked somebody on our page.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. If I have to block you on her huddle, just,
you're doing too much.
No, I was about to say take the hint. That's not a hint.
Nah, that's pretty.
And the thing is, this person then reached out to Ida asking why was they blocked on her huddle. Because you don't stay out my life.
Yeah.
That's why. No. It's not unprofessional.
But it's also like you saying that, oh, that's unprofessional. Like, you took it to the point where this person had to block you on their professional page.
I'll be unprofessional. I don't give a fuck.
But like, that's just, you have no self-awareness
right.
at all.
But I could be a fucking barber and you book an appointment with me. If I don't want to see you, I'm not taking your money.
Right.
You not come sit in my chair.
Yeah.
Because that's also like, I know there's a lot of toxic people who like, they'll block each other, but they'll still be fucking with each other in real life.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we'll be laid up, but we're blocked.
No.
But if y'all need to block you on my business page, I'm standing on business. I'm standing on business. Get the fuck out. I'm not playing with you. Next time I'm calling the cops. Like, get the fuck out.
That's crazy.
Okay. I don't like sentences that start off with "you need to." Because I don't need to do shit. Rephrase it.
I freaking hate that.
Literally, don't tell me what I need to. I don't give a fuck if you're my boss. I don't need to do shit because I could quit.
Also, if you tell me you need to, oh, I'm gonna do the opposite.
Right. Don't tell me I need to do shit. This is my life.
No.
I don't need to do shit.
And like, I'll probably be like, I need to do what? Oh fuck no, I'm gonna do the opposite. And you got.
I can do that. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that.
I was gonna do it. Now I'm not.
Don't tell me I need to do shit. Asking if I miss you when there ain't nothing to miss is wild, bro.
This is like
when you get that
awkward shit.
When you get that I miss you text or like, oh, you miss me, like, what's there to miss? Like, it's always also whenever somebody asks you miss me, it's always the people that there's nothing to miss. Like, I've never got that text from somebody I would actually miss.
I have, but those things, like, people, the most random people will say that shit, and I'm like, what is going on in your delusional world?
Why would I miss you? Literally, give me one reason. Why would I miss you? I'll get a text, like, I miss you, from somebody I could maybe miss. I'll send it back. But I ain't ever got a, do you miss me? Like a serious, like maybe if it was a joke because we're actually still close and we just haven't seen each other for a while, you just text me as a joke. But if you actually just text me like after we stop talking, you're like, do you miss me?
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Literally,
it's different if it's somebody you're actually talking to. Yeah. But when you're not talking to this person and there's like, out of nowhere, you miss me? If I missed you, I would have been telling you I missed you. I would have texted you first. Like, and literally, it's always the people like, there's nothing to miss. Or even people like, it's never been a thing. Right. Like, we've never been like that. Why would I, like, you hit me up 1 or 2 times. It ain't been nothing like that. What is there to miss? We literally, never, like, we don't even fucking know each other. You asking me how I was doing one day. Right. Like, and now you're like, do you miss me? I barely know about you. Like, what are you talking about? I forgot your name, actually. That's crazy. Oh, that was the last one? It's also the balls to send that. You must be delusional as fuck. See, the one person that I, like, genuinely got that from is... Oh, okay. Oh, you was thinking about this one? Uh-huh. Oh, nah. No, he's never asked. He'll just text me. He missed me. But he's never asked me if I miss him. He'll just like he'll make it toxic in other ways, but this one, we love that shit. We love that shit. No, but this one,
he's definitely texted me like, do you miss me? And I'm literally like I'm trying to think. Yeah. I'm thinking back to when we used to talk.
Cause like obviously
what the arguments. Yeah. Fucking being mad at you all the time, being pissed, you fucking pissing me off all the time. Do I miss that? No, I'm not that toxic.
Trying to like manipulate,
right?
Cheat, all that. Actually, I'm good.
No, and the only good like what's there? Oh, but we had good times too. Oh, you asked me if I ate today? Like, no, I can have somebody else ask me. I really don't miss that.
Also, like, we had good times when you kept doing these things. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. We had good times. Oh, the one day that we didn't argue? That's good times? That's normal. That's supposed to be normal.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I love a good toxic shit. We don't.
We don't, actually.
We actually don't.
We don't.
Like, we low-key act like we do.
But we don't.
Like, we'll low-key entertain it, but no.
No. Fuck that shit.
Well, we used to.
Yeah. But we've
used
been
to.
through therapy.
We're growing. We're growing. So, don't come my way with the toxic shit. First of all, I break your heart. I'm just walking away. That's why I'm breaking your heart. Secondly, I'm breaking your heart because I'm walking away. I don't deal with that shit no more.
Alright, well, that was this week's episode. We appreciate y'all tuning in and keep, going, commenting, liking, all that, spreading, sharing. Loving
this.
And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.